Rex Bear, how the heck are you? This is a very special podcast. We broke 100,000 subscribers today. I want to say thank you, everybody that's helped Leak Project reach over 100,000 fantastic subscribers in such a short amount of time. Now, the past month, maybe 2 months, it's just been amazing. Exponential growth. And I couldn't do it without you guys. So I am absolutely grateful that you're here with me. And all of you that are listening to this podcast absolutely give me hope that we're making a difference for the better and being the change that the world needs to see. So this is a very deep conversation I'm going to have with you today. And after doing years of extensive research into magic, mind control techniques, Hollywood, the occult, mysticism, the entertainment industry, religion, fringe, politics, all sorts of different conspiracy, woo-woo, nanotechnologies, biotechnologies, the food industry. After really immersing myself deep into clandestine knowledge that most people don't even think about, let alone research, I feel it's time to share that with you, some very invaluable information that has been suppressed from the masses for thousands of years, if not longer. Now, this discussion, once again, gets extremely far into the rabbit hole, and I feel it's necessary, actually. This podcast, I wrote out the majority of what we're going to be saying, and a lot of times I'm just off the cuff. So several times during this synopsis, what I was writing out, my fingers seemed to literally just move, like to a point to where you go outside, if you're in the mountains and you see this beautiful, majestic waterfall and you see the water just fall from the cliffside. It was very fascinating the way that I wrote some of this out. So let me know if you pick up on that. But recently I produced a podcast laying out the hypothesis of nuclear industry overall being connected to certain things that maybe we can't see, almost being like an energy source for something more than our houses and those nuclear submarines that we hear about. Now, this presentation also adds more hard to find pieces to the galactic puzzle. Very deep. Is the Hollywood industry a feeding ground for archonic type influences? Kind of like what we talked about in the Emerald Tablets recently, the serpent beings that have been around before time, hiding in the shadows. Are movies now used as global spells of the 21st century? Now, I call this presentation the 21st Century Spellcasters, Hollywood, and the Epitome of Magical Arts. Are these blockbuster films and megastars current forms of magic, alchemy, wizards, sorcerers, and witches? What is the difference between stage magic and higher magic with a K? How does it work? Is it all evil? If one casts a spell, what makes it effective and what makes it work better? Well, the more focused your intent, the type of spell, time of day, environment, and everything that plays a key role in the formula is going to decide the effectiveness of the spell or action of events that you set in motion. As an example, a few weeks ago, when I read a passage out of the Nag Hammadi Codex, where a student was asking his teacher for help, Hermes Trismegistus, in this scribe, there was a chant at the end. There are certain vowels that I sang, and they harmonized specific vibrational frequencies. Now, when others heard it from the podcast, their response was overwhelmingly fantastic. It was very positive. People like myself felt something physically. Matter of fact, I woke up the next day and I felt like something was lifted off my shoulders. It was incredible. The more people connect to that frequency, the more people that connected to that frequency, the more people that watch the podcast, the more effective the sounds become in that specific work. Same goes for magic. Think about the hundreds of millions of people that watch specific movies and listen to certain songs. The effects are far above and beyond what over 99% of the global population can comprehend, let alone see. Remember the passage in the Bible This is the Young's literal translation for where there are two or three gathered together to my name, there am I in the midst of them. The more people you get together, the more energy will harmonize, especially if you're all focusing on the same intent, you have the same thoughts, you have this, you're even expressing the same sounds. It's like going to church when people sing a song or a hymn, and you get that energy where the hair's standing up on your arms and the back of your neck, and it's just amazing. You feel incredible. Well, it's the same that goes with movies. It's the same that goes with other songs. I mean, I get excited all the time when I hear certain songs that I enjoy. I listen to a lot of electronic music as well as a lot of stuff from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. So, how powerful is the media? How powerful is a movie that 100 million, 200 million, 300 million people watch that is handcrafted, selectively, highly orchestrated to get certain reactions out of the audience, out of the masses? And then we're going to get into emotions. We're going to get into what they actually are. If you can actually test emotions, can you measure emotions? Where do they go? What the mind perceives as real is subjective. Studies of the brain, when you see something that somebody else does, the same part of your brain activates that theirs does. For example, you watch somebody get in a car wreck, you're not going to physically feel it. You're mentally going to have the same physical impression. The same parts of your brain are going to light up as that person that gets in the accident. What you're watching on TV, on the movies, has an impact on your subconscious mind, which controls about 95% of your entire what you do, essentially. And I'll get to that here in a minute. Matter of fact, let's get into it right now. Subliminal programming is a proven fact. Your unconscious mind is running your life. You can read about this on lifetrainings.com. Your unconscious mind is running you. A new perspective of why we are the way we are has been introduced by some cutting-edge molecular biologists. Foremost among them is former professor of medicine at Stanford University, Dr. Bruce Lipton. He says the new science of epigenetics has shown that our genes are in fact controlled and manipulated by our mind's perception and interpretation of our environment. The new findings are great news because it means that we can change many things about the way that we are, including our health, by changing how we interpret events and situations which happen to us. For example, Dr. Lipton shows that if we interpret things in a positive way, we start living healthier and better quality lives, regardless of the genetic makeup we started with. A new attitude, positive or negative, sends new messages to the cells in our body and can actively reprogram their health and behavior. It can even change cellular structure, turning diseased cells into healthy ones. Remember how earlier today I brought up the placebo effect and the nocebo effect? The nocebo effect is just as powerful as the placebo effect. It just has the opposite results. Constantly think you're healthy, constantly have good thoughts. It's a lot better than constantly having negative thoughts, constantly feeling you're going to get sick, or what you're doing is wrong, or, oh my goodness, that's a nice car. My neighbor drives that really nice car. Oh man, that's a sin. It's not a sin to think somebody has a nice car. Matter of fact, emotions are what drives people. Emotions are the fuel to the machine, ladies and gentlemen. The system that we're in is ran by emotions, and that is what makes us so important. And I'm going to get into that here soon also. Dr. Lipton explains that there are two separate minds that create what he calls the body's controlling voice. There is a conscious mind that can think freely and create new ideas out of the box, and there is the subconscious mind, which is basically a supercomputer loaded with a database of programmed behaviors, most of which we acquired before we reached the age of 6. The magic number 6 again. 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. The magic sun box in numerology represents 6 across the board. Neuroscientists have shown that the conscious mind provides 5% or less of our cognitive conscious activity during the day. And 5%, they say, is for people that are more aware. Many people operate at just 1% consciousness. 1% consciousness. Crazy. 1%. Wow. That even blows my mind. I guess I give people too much credit. Dr. Lipton also says that the unconscious mind operates at 40 million bits of data per second, whereas the conscious mind processes at only 40 bits per second. Fascinating. Emotions equal energy that can be recorded and measured with both chemical production and ethereal energy that can be photographed with proper equipment like a Kirlian camera. I myself have proven this on a recent podcast where I showed you the picture of myself of a Kirlian photograph where you could see this just awesome dark burgundy red that was just like a giant egg around my body. I'm definitely stuck in the base chakra when I'm out in public because that's what it was. I mean, it was just full on life force, will and vigor. It was awesome, amazing, loved it. So also an EEG is an old school way of testing your brain waves. And so are MRIs. So an EEG is a monitoring method to record electrical activity of the brain. It is typically non-invasive with the electrodes placed along the scalp, although invasive electrodes are sometimes used in specific applications. EEG measures voltage fluctuations resulting from ionic current within the neurons of the brain. In clinical context, the EEG refers to the recording of the brain's spontaneous electrical activity over a period of time, as recorded from multiple electrodes placed on the scalp. Diagnostic applications generally focus on the spectral content of EEG, that is, the type of neural oscillations called brainwaves that can be observed in EEG signals. Now, I've had EEGs before, and I had them when I was a little kid growing up. Had them twice a year for a few years. They were checking my brainwaves, and it sucked. Like, my parents would have me stay up the night before or get up at like midnight or get up as early as I can because when they do these tests, they want you to stay awake. They don't want you to breathe different. They want you to breathe totally normal. They don't want you to swallow like that. They just want you to be as normal as possible because that way they check your brain waves and see what they're doing. And very, it's old school technology. It's the MRIs are even more advanced now, but they still use EEGs in everyday life. Now, when watching a film or listening to a song, what happens? Let's add to that. When I watch a movie, the emotions go up and down if it's a good movie. That's what a good movie is designed to do. It's designed to get you on an emotional roller coaster, and that's how blockbuster films, they have certain scripts that they usually stick to. There's certain parameters and steps, essentially. You'll notice that. And also in TV shows, you'll notice a lot of times that each scene, or almost every scene, ends in one person walking away from somebody else or from something else. It's always somebody walking away on the go, constantly keeping things streaming. Now, if you watch these blockbuster films, you'll also notice that there's a lot of subliminal programming going on behind what the main character is doing. So that way your conscious mind is focusing in on the main character. Meanwhile, your subconscious mind is absorbing all this other data. Now, that sculpts the masses. That also has an impact on what you think and what you do and how you feel. It really does. And you guys, I'm going to get so deep here in a minute, it's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your freaking mind. I actually came up with something that I wouldn't be surprised is literally the next wave of warfare or of weaponry. It's very frightening indeed. So you watch a film, you get excited, you get emotional, you've got your ups and your downs. I'll share a story with you. The Charlotte's Web, very emotional cartoon. I shed a tear in that cartoon. No joke, very emotional. Poor spider. But anyway, so now let's get into the opportunities for, like, when you think something, where does that energy go? Where does that synapse, where does that spark go? Where does that essence travel? Where does sound go? What is it? Is it a frequency? Is that frequency, can it be measured? Well, of course it can. Frequencies can be measured. So when you think something, when you learn something new, your brain, guess what? It creates a little microscopic wrinkle. Well, guess what? When it creates that, it takes energy to do that. Do you think that it can be heard? Do you think that there's something that could actually be able to measure the sound? Of course. It's energy. All energy can be measured in some way or another. That's the beauty of energy and math. So, with that said, there's a great article by Carl Zimmer, and he explains to National Geographic the evolutionary biology. The more wrinkle the brain gets, the bigger the surface or the cortex becomes. The human brain is especially wrinkled. If you look at a human brain, you only see about a third of its surface. The other 2/3 are hidden inside of its folds. Now, if you could spread out the entire brain on a table, it would be 2,500 square centimeters, a small tablecloth. Now, if you take the shrewd brain, the surface is only 0.8 square centimeters, so less than 0.1. I mean, less than 1 centimeter. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of my watch and the microsieverts there. Just had a harp on from Alaska. But I divagate. So let's go back to this. There's an increase, a 31,250% increase if you take the average brain and you unfold it. So think of all those wrinkles that are created when you learn something new. And also, DARPA is working on technologies where it's called instant plasticity, instant cognitive plasticity or something like that, where they're using chemicals and technologies to give your brain data packets to where it usurps up this information in a very short amount of time, like Matrix style. Who knows what the side effects are going to be, though? I mean, is it going to cook your brain literally? Somebody brought up the film Johnny Mnemonic, where he was basically a data dealer on the black market. And in the future, they store data in your body. Well, just like we're talking about right here. So if that's the case, well, there are certain parts where he was downloading too much information and it was like cooking his brain literally, and it almost killed him. So the more you learn, the bigger your brain gets. Literally, the bigger your brain gets. That's fascinating. Unwrap somebody's brain like Einstein or something, or somebody like Tesla, even cooler. Now I want to get into our DNA as unlocking the keys to everything. Literally, this is so deep that it blew my mind multiple times while I was writing it out. Right now, DNA is so powerful, 1 gram of DNA can store 214 petaflops. That's 214,000 terabytes. Not petaflops, petabytes. 214 petabytes. Petaflops is the speed that those new computers are running at, like that new Chinese supercomputer that's running at 93 petaflops. That's the speed. Petabytes, that's the amount of data. That's the amount of storage. So this new study done by the researchers from Columbia University, they encoded 214 petabytes, which equals 214,000 terabytes, over 300 times the amount that researchers at Harvard were able to encode in 1 gram of DNA just 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, Harvard researchers encoded 700 terabytes of information in 1 gram of DNA. That's a lot of storage, you guys. That's a lot of data. Well, within just 5 years, they've been able to take it from 700 terabytes to 214,000 terabytes, or 214 petabytes. So that's over 300 times the amount in just 5 years, which shows me we're literally barely at the surface of this technology. Imagine unlocking all of our DNA to encode data like this in this test. In reality, in my opinion, well, not even in my opinion, throw my opinion out. In reality, it's already been done. We just need to learn how to activate it with the hardware that we have. The DNA is right there. The access is right there. All the information is in front of us, folks. It's all some type of code. If it's not DNA, it's a frequency code. So we learn how to see it at the code level, at the DNA level. We unlock the universe right there. And I'm going to get into more of that here in a second. So imagine unlocking all of our DNA to encode data like this test. So essentially, you take the amount of weight of DNA you have in your body, you turn that into a computer, and that shows you how much storage you can have for a computer system. You guys follow me? So, in reality, we just need to learn how to activate the hardware that we have, and that begs the question, if there's a pill or a chip that you could take that would give you access to your DNA in the way that I am referring, unlocking the code, unlocking the matrix, literally giving you the key. Where's that key that was given to me the other day in the mailbox? Giving you the key to unlock it, would you do it? Would you do it? Now, let's say that it's not the mark of the beast. Let's say that there's no moral consequences to taking it that are negative. Would you do it? How far would you go to unlock the keys to the universe? To have the keys to the universe and actually unlock the door that opens the heavens to the heavens, or that void in between the heavens and the heavens, above us, below us, and all around us. Would you do it? Now, oh yeah, I didn't tell you what they downloaded. So what they actually did in this test, what they downloaded. Here, this is what they downloaded. When they did this test to encode the DNA, they downloaded a full computer operating system, the 1895 French film called Arrival of a Train at La Catate, a $50 Amazon gift card. They encoded a computer virus into this strand of DNA, a pioneer plaque, and a 1948 study of information theorist Claude Shannon. So they encoded that. These researchers encoded a computer virus in physical DNA, in human DNA. Think about that for a minute. Let your mind run wild with that for a minute. How many rabbit holes is that going to open? Now we're talking 21st century warfare. Talk about the next wave of weaponry. And so, as I was talking to you about a moment ago, saying, would you take this piece of hardware? Would you hook up to this machine? Or would you take this pill if it gave you access to unlock your full potential? Well, then it begs the question, would it be easier for people to put in computer viruses or mess with your conscience or control you or program you? I think it's just as easy for them to do it Wi-Fi. Why? Well, look at this information right here. You can read all about this. I'll leave links to all this stuff for you guys. The genetic material of your body was used to encode a computer virus. So, if they can send information, frequency, to that cell, which they can mess with you wirelessly. There was a video that I showed you guys recently where there was gold nanorods that were being controlled with ultrasound. They were bouncing around off of a cancer cell, bouncing around off of it. They're using this stuff to cure cancer. What else can they do with this stuff? These things are so small, you can't see it with the naked eye. It's like 1,000 or 1/10,000th the width of a human hair. And these things are bouncing around human cells, and they're actually they're restructuring human cells. You don't think they can't spray that stuff from the skies? I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not saying they are. I'm saying they can. Now, what happens with the 21st century warfare where they just Wi-Fi your ass, embed some computer code, some computer DNA in your body that has the same effects that a biological virus has? And you look at these. Here's another weird thing. I mean, look at viruses under a microscope. They don't look like they're natural anyway. They look bizarre. They look like little miniature nano robots already. Seriously, look at a biophage. Check out a biophage. Biophage is, hold on a second, let me get a little drink here. Where you going with the master found? All right, listening to some Stone Temple Pilots here. So, where was I? Dang it, I just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, computer viruses. So, you look at these biophage viruses that are sprayed on meats and different products that you consume, and these viruses are genetically modified to eat E. coli. So they eat E. coli. Well, what if they just genetically modify those a little bit more to eat your T cells or your C cells or whatever other cells you've got. Oh, let's eat that guy's forehead or so. I don't know. I'm just, whatever they want to do, right? I mean, especially when you get to the quantum level like that, or not even the quantum level. Let's don't go that far out. Let's just get to the computer level, the nano level. Quantum level is even smaller than the nano level. Very fascinating. Very fascinating. So, will that be the next wave? Are they going to use some type of frequency warfare where they literally just come up with a frequency that they put into a computer that creates a certain algorithm that will then recalibrate your DNA and take your good DNA and start reformatting the protons and the neutrons and the electrons? So it'll take like healthy cells and then transform them into cancer cells or just, something else. They could do anything. I mean, it's really, the possibilities are endless, because if you can rewrite DNA, and they've got machines now that are multiple stories in height where you can see DNA at the genome level. Like, you can see each strand of DNA. And these dudes can sit there and take out a strand and put in a strand and literally be the ultimate of a mad scientist. Let's hope they're using it for the right things. Oftentimes, though, these defense contractors get their tentacles in it to provide funding for it. And then what happens? They get used for the wrong reasons. Starts out the right reason, turns into the wrong reason, oftentimes. So, my point is, energy is needed for you to learn and obtain information. Not only to learn, but to store the data. Once you pass physically, where does all the energy go that you've stored up in this hard drive? Where does the software go? Like what you learned. All the memories, all the emotions, all the experiences. Where does all that go? It's energy. Now, we know that the body decays, and the maggots and vultures can devour those that aren't entombed to have their bodies slowly rot in a box buried in the ground. Sounds like the Borg Cube to me. Sounds like the Cult of Saturn. Sounds like the Hellraiser Cube. Now, shouldn't your dense form of self, your physical body, be able to go back to the source it was created from? The dust of the earth, the stardust? Or should your body also become fragmented and further separated from source and higher self by being put into a coffin after your body's been entombed with chemicals for slow decay? Now, even the Western form of burial, in my opinion, is a form of imprisonment and separating from source. It's fragments outside of fragments. It's defragmented. It's fractures outside of the ultimate source. Not the ultimate source, but the divine source. Now, even the Western form of burial, when you bury your body in a casket, it's filled with embalming agents. It keeps your body in a quasi-physical form, slowly decaying into an abstract, artificial essence of form outside of the natural frameworks blazed into existence, and self lingering next to the tunnels that house the near-invisible, malicious serpents waiting to devour your spark, given from source of infinite love and light, the priceless gift we all have been given. This is just one of many ways for the immoral, vipers to continue their control grid right in front of you and beyond the veil of physical matter that your physical eyes see. Now, when you watch a film, when you get excited, let's talk about emotions here for a minute. Testcountry.org, 10 hormones that affect our emotions. Estrogen, testosterone, serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. What do these things do, and what are they designed for? Well, a lot of them are designed for your reproductive functions, your fight or flight mode, survival mode. There's emotions that keep you happy that are designed to be like antidepressants that are created naturally. All of these things are physical measurements to prove that when you watch a movie, there's an energy that's created. So what feeds off of this energy? Where does this energy go? Well, do you think there's people that maybe know how to sculpt the energy and direct it into different positions and areas and change industries and literally change realities and change consciousness. The media is so beyond powerful. It's far more powerful than the military. The pen is mightier than the sword, and the mind is mightier than the pen. The mind is the mightiest thing of all. The mind is consciousness. The mind is God. The mind is divine source, divine spark. And once you break out of that, just like getting buried in a casket, you're breaking yourself out of source. You are literally separating a part of yourself from yourself. It's very unfortunate. Now, Hollywood, the music industry, the entertainment industry, corporations, and sigils and symbols and different archetypes that they use and represent, and sculptures that you see, and gargoyles on skyscrapers and buildings put at specific locations on the planet, all have certain meaning and have certain energies that are created because of it. Have you heard of the 27 Club? Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse are just a few of the 27 Club. Now, maybe they weren't playing ball. Maybe they had signed a specific contract and that was their time. There's definitely some significance to the 27 Club. Dozens and dozens and dozens of very talented entertainers are a part of that 27 Club, and people that we'll never hear of because they weren't written about on Wikipedia or something. There's more to the 27 Club than just the 27 Club on the, on the magazine front per se. So, watch a film called Cabin in the Woods. That movie shows that blood rituals have been going on for thousands of years, and in essence, it shows that without these blood rituals that have to be performed at specific times to meet certain criteria, and guess who's involved? Mystery schools, secret societies, alphabet agencies, the government, and a little house in the woods that you think is just a part of a horror story reality TV show. It's all intertwined, and guess what? When these people break off out of the branch and find a way to escape so they're not a part of that continual system of feeding, this enormous beast breaks out of his slumber and destroys the planet. So the subconscious role in your mind is, oh, okay, well, that's why it goes on, because if it doesn't, the planet will blow up, in essence, in layman's terms. And I almost wonder if that was once again in representation of Kronos, the giant beast, the one that eats his children to survive and thrive. In essence, just look at the Saturn Greek mythos where you see Kronos eating the heads off of his children to rejuvenate. Saturn is a strange anomaly in and of itself. So, I think I've hit on most of my points. I skipped a couple of things. No, we got it. There's just here we go. And thank you for being here with me, guys. I really appreciate it. Humans, what makes us unique? What makes us different than a cockroach or a bald eagle or a beautiful lamb or a lion or a cheetah or a brown recluse or a black widow? Well, our emotions. Our abilities to be the greatest healers or the greatest destroyers. Each of us has a unique and priceless opportunity to make change. We can connect the light and the dark, the yin and the yang. We can activate everything within us to be used as either a positive or a negative. We can reach the stars of the heavens, and we can dig deep into the pits of hell. People like you, like me, and like others that listen to Leak Project, we have an opportunity every single day to create series of events, systems of influence, and structures of substance. People can see or experience the physical effects of war, politics, media, work, religion, and spiritual beliefs, and they can see the byproducts that they unfold into the universe. but oftentimes they miss the spiritual aspects, the soul essence. Each action, each thought, each breath you and I make is magic. Some people might say, no, that's not true, Rex. Magic is evil. Then that means the very essence of your being is evil. And you yourself are an abomination. Which is another point I will make. Most religions, belief systems of higher self, industries of great profit and control feed, survive, even thrive off of your ignorance and false beliefs that they have helped orchestrate and perpetuate throughout time, eons upon eons. Think about it for a minute. How much money does the medical industrial complex receive yearly? Imagine how much money funnels into that corrupt, dark beast abomination system every single second of every single day. Now, how much money goes into nutrition and real health care? How much money does the military industrial complex? How many trillions of dollars a year spent to prop up the ultimate magical blood sacrifice system in existence known to modern man and woman? What if one millionth of that was spent efficiently to fix nuclear pollution or any other type of pollution on that note? This is enough to prove my point. We live in a dualistic system designed to keep almost everybody ignorant, suppressed, and able just enough to optimally feed the dark beast machine. What this machine is doesn't really matter. I've done a good enough job explaining on multiple levels in this semi-quick explanation of clandestine control. In closing, I would like to thank everybody once again for being here with me. LeakProject.com. Question everything and be the change you want to see. Rex Bear, how the heck are you? This is a very special podcast. We broke 100,000 subscribers today. I want to say thank you, everybody that's helped Leak Project reach over 100,000 fantastic subscribers in such a short amount of time. Now, the past month, maybe 2 months, it's just been amazing. Exponential growth. And I couldn't do it without you guys. So I am absolutely grateful that you're here with me. And all of you that are listening to this podcast absolutely give me hope that we're making a difference for the better and being the change that the world needs to see. So this is a very deep conversation I'm going to have with you today. And after doing years of extensive a feeding ground for archonic type influences, kind of like what we talked about in the Emerald Tablets recently, the serpent beings that have been around before time, hiding in the shadows. Are movies now used as global spells of the 21st century? Now, I call this presentation the 21st Century Spellcasters, Hollywood, and the Epitome of Magical Arts. Are these blockbuster films and megastars current forms of magic, alchemy, wizards, sorcerers, and witches? What is the difference between stage magic and higher magic with a K? How does it work? Is it all evil? If one casts a spell, what makes it effective and what makes it work better? Well, the more focused your intent, the type of spell, time of day, environment, and everything that plays a key role in the formula is going to decide the effectiveness of the spell or action of events that you set in motion. As an example, a few weeks ago when I read a passage out of the Nag Hammadi Codex where a student was asking his teacher for help, Hermes Trismegistus, in this scribe there was a chant at the end. There are certain vowels that I sang and they harmonize specific vibrational frequencies. Now, when others heard it from the podcast, their response was overwhelmingly fantastic. It was very positive. People like myself felt something physically. Matter of fact, I woke up the next day and I felt like something was lifted off my shoulders. It was incredible. the more people can off the cuff. So several times during this synopsis, what I was writing out, my fingers seemed to literally just move like to a point to where you go outside, if you're in the mountains and you see this beautiful, majestic waterfall and you see the water just fall from the cliffside. It was very fascinating the way that I wrote some of this out. So let me know if you pick up on that. But recently I produced a podcast laying out the hypothesis of nuclear industry overall being connected to certain things that maybe we can't see, almost being like an energy source for something more than our houses and those nuclear submarines that we hear about. Now, this presentation also adds more hard to find pieces to the galactic puzzle. Very deep. Is the Hollywood industry research into magic, mind control techniques, Hollywood, the occult, mysticism, the entertainment industry, religion, fringe, politics, all sorts of different conspiracy, woo-woo, nanotechnologies, biotechnologies, the food industry. After really immersing myself deep into clandestine knowledge that most people don't even think about, let alone research, I feel it's time to share that with you, some very invaluable information that has been suppressed from the masses for thousands of years, if not longer. Now, this discussion, once again, gets extremely far into the rabbit hole, and I feel it's necessary, actually. This podcast, I wrote out the majority of what we're going to be saying, and a lot of times I'm just